गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी राधा जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतशे श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शील प्रभुपाद की इस कॉन्फाउंडर आचार्य बीबी फाउंडर आचार्य सेवा ऑफ द होल वर्ल्ड जगत गुरु शील प्रभुपाद की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतस्य सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः कृष्णे स्वधामोपगते धर्मज्ञानादिभिः सह कलौ नष्टदशाम् एष पुराणार्को दुनोदितः. Hare Krishna. Today we'll be reading from Canto 3, Chapter 9, Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy, and text number 11. It'll be a little different tune. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita hrit saroja आसेषु ते क्षितपथो ननुनाथ पुंसाम् यद्यधियात उरुगाय विभावयन्ति तत्तद्वपु प्रणयसे सदनुग्रहाय त्वं भक्तियोग परिभावित हृत्सरोजा आसेषु ते क्षितपथो ननुनाथ पुंसाम् यद्यधियात उरुगाय विभावयन्ति तत्तद्वपु प्रणयसे सदनुग्रहाय त्वं भक्तियोग परिभावित हृत्सरोजा आसेषु ते क्षितपथो ननुनाथ पुंसाम् यद्यधियात उरुगाय विभावयन्ति तत्तद्वपु प्रणयसे सदनुग्रहाय त्वं भक्ति योग परिभावित हृत्सरोजा आसेषु ते क्षितपथो ननुनाथ पुंसाम् यद्यधियात उरुगाय विभावयन्ति तत्तद्वपु प्रणयसे सदनुग्रहाय त्वं भक्ति योग परिभावित हृत्सरोजा आसेषु ते क्षिपतो ननुनाथ पुंसाम् यद्यधियात उरुगाय विभावयन्ति तत्तद्वपु प्रणयसे सदनुग्रहाय. Would you like to try? You can say without the tune if you want. Yes. Tam bhakti yoga paribhavita hrit saroja. Ase shruti kshitapatho nanunata pumsam. Yadyadhyat urugaya vibhavayanti. Tattadvapu pranayase sadanugrahaya. We'll go to word. Tvam, unto you. Bhakti yoga, in devotional service. Paribhavita, being 100% engaged. Hrit, of the heart. Saroje, on the lotus. Ase, you reside. Shruta ikshita, seen through the ear. Pataha, the path. Nanu, now. Natha, O my Lord. Pumsam, of the devotees. Yat, whichever. Dhiya, by meditating. Te, your. Urugaya, O multi-glorious. Vibhavayanti, they specifically think of. Tattad, the very same. Vapuhu, transcendental form. Pranayase, do you manifest? Sad anugrahaya, to show your causeless mercy. Translation and purport by Sri Prabhupada. Sri Prabhupada ki. O my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their hearts become cleansed, and you take your seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. Purport. The statement here that the Lord manifests himself before the devotee in the form in which the devotee likes to worship him indicates that the Lord becomes subordinate to the desire of the devotee, so much so that he manifests his particular form as the devotee demands. This demand of the devotee is satisfied by the Lord because he is pliable in terms of the transcendental loving service of the devotee. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.11. Ye yata mam prapadyante tam sateva bhajamyaham. We should note, however, that the Lord is never the order supplier of the devotee. Here in this verse, it is particularly mentioned, Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita. This indicates the efficiency achieved through execution of mature devotional service or prema, love of Godhead. This state of prema is achieved by the gradual process of development from faith to love. On faith, one associates with bona fide devotees, and by such association, one can become engaged in bona fide devotional service, which includes proper initiation and the execution of primary devotional duties prescribed in the revealed scriptures. This is clearly indicated herein by the word Shuta Ikshita. The Shuta Ikshita path is to hear from bona fide devotees who are conversant with the Vedic wisdom, free from mundane sentiment. By this bona fide hearing process, the neophyte devotee becomes cleansed of all material rubbish, and thus he becomes attached to one of the many transcendental forms of the Lord as described in the Vedas. This attachment of the devotee to a particular form of the Lord is due to natural inclination. Each and every living entity is originally attached to a particular type of transcendental service because he is eternally the servitor of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya says that the living entity is eternally a servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Therefore, every living entity has a particular type of service relationship with the Lord eternally. This particular attachment is invoked by practice of regulative devotional service to the Lord, and thus the devotee becomes attached to the eternal form of the Lord, exactly like one who is eternally attached. Exactly like one who is already eternally attached. This attachment for a particular form of the Lord is called Swarupa Siddhi. The Lord sits on the lotus heart of the devotee in the eternal form the pure devotee desires, and thus the Lord does not part from the devotee, as confirmed in the previous verse. The Lord, however, does not disclose himself to a casual or inauthentic worshipper to be exploited. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.25. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavitaha. Rather, by yogamaya, the Lord remains concealed to the devotees or casual devotees who are serving their sense gratification. The Lord is never visible to the pseudo devotees who worship the demigods in charge of universal affairs. The conclusion is that the Lord cannot become the order supplier of a pseudo devotee, but he is always prepared to respond to the desires of a pure unconditional devotee who is free from all tinges of material infection. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha Kalpatarubhishya Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone to the morning Bhagavatam class. We have a very nice verse today, and this is a memorizable verse. You can memorize, and it's a very nice prayer which Lord Brahma is offering to Krishna. So here Prabhupada mentions several points in the purport. One of the things what Prabhupada mentions is that the Supreme Lord, who is also called as Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Nayaka, that means he is one supreme of the multiple universes, in which of one universe and one planet called Earth we stay or we know about. But Supreme Lord Krishna is the owner or the proprietor of all the universes. And as such a person, he is ready to become a servant of his devotees, just to respond and reciprocate with the devotees' love. Just like, for example, if you go to Joe Biden, President of the US, and you ask him, "My dear sir, can you please drive my Uber? I wish to go from Brooklyn to Bronx. Can you drive my Uber?" You think he will drive your Uber? Never. Even if you give him $1,000,000, it's a question of reputation. Whereas Krishna, like I mentioned, he's Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Nayaka. That means everything belongs to him. He's the owner and proprietor and controller and enjoyer of everything. But such a Lord becomes a servant of his devotees, and he readily picks up the reins of the horses of Arjuna's chariot. So it is symbolic to our life also that we want to give the reins of our life, the control of our life to Krishna's hands, just like Arjuna did. So it so happened 5,000 years ago, a true story, that the warrior Arjuna, he lost his son Abhimanyu in the Mahabharata war, in the Kurukshetra war. So he got to know how the generals of the opposite party, they had not dealt with him in the proper Kshatriya code of conduct. Rather, they had cheated, and multiple, according to Vedic society or Vedic rules, in a war usually happens outside the city, so that innocent people are not hurt, like women, children, old people, or anyone who has nothing to do with the war. Tradesmen, craftsmen, they have nothing to do with the war. So the armies would always take it outside. Whereas today we see, if you have to fight a war, the first thing, your first target is the places where civilians occupy, right? So one of the codes of conduct like this, according to Vedic Kshatriya rules, is during a war, one person fights with another person on an equal level. So if I am using a bow and arrow to fight, so other person only can also use on the bow and arrow. Suppose I get disarmed and my bow and arrows fall away, then and I pick up a sword, then the other person also picks up a sword, so that the battle is always equal. A stronger person doesn't usually fight with the weaker person. It's ill honor for them, dishonor for them. If anyone finds out, it's a big blow to their reputation. So basically, what happened, Abhimanyu, when he was in this Kurukshetra war, there were at least 10, I don't know exact number of how many great general soldiers or great generals of the Kaurava army. They surrounded Abhimanyu, and multiple of them killed Abhimanyu very ruthlessly, like a lion killing, you can say, a deer, ruthless. So Arjuna got to know that all this took place, and the person who was guarding Abhimanyu from other brothers of the Pandavas, of Arjuna, like Yudhishthir, Bhima, who was he? Jayadratha. So Arjuna got to know in the evening that everyone was sad for some reason. So he found out that Abhimanyu, his own son, was killed, and he started crying tears. When he started crying tears, Krishna saw him, and Krishna also started crying tears. So Arjuna asked Krishna, "My son died, so I am crying tears. Why are you crying tears?" So Krishna told Arjuna that I am seeing you crying after I spoke the Bhagavad Gita to you. And because it's not working, I'm crying. I'm shedding tears. So then Arjuna, he got up Now then he took a vow. He went to the Kauravas side and he took a vow that by the sunset of the next day, if I don't kill Jayadratha, I will enter fire. So multiple occasions in the Kurukshetra war or across the Vedic scriptures, we see Krishna takes tension or Krishna takes the burden to fulfill the desires of his devotees. So when Arjuna took this vow, Arjuna just took it out of the passion to kill Jayadratha. But who took the tension? Krishna took the tension. So Krishna was worried. This fellow has taken such a vow, which is almost impossible to fulfill. And now I have to do something. So next day, as the sun rose and as the conch shells blew, and both the armies started to fight, then the Kauravas are also intelligent. They have Dronacharya, who is teacher of Arjuna, to assemble the entire army to give a nice formation. So they had such a formation where Jayadratha was placed towards the end of the battlefield. And it was such a formation, it was more of a defensive tactic. So how much ever Arjuna would kill, it would never be possible for Arjuna to reach Jayadratha by sunset. So they had such a formation and Arjuna was fighting valiantly. He was fighting very forcefully. But the sun also started setting. And all the Kauravas armies, army members, they were all very happy that Arjuna is going to enter fire. If Arjuna enters fire, there's no one else who can protect the Pandavas because he's the main warrior. So then what Krishna did, now as the sun was setting, it also finally set. And then Kauravas, they threw down the weapons and they all started rejoicing. And then Jayadratha came from all the way back all the way into the front. And then Arjuna was very morose that, okay, now I have to enter the fire. And then what happened? And then Krishna called his Sudarshan disc back. So the sun was actually not set, but Krishna sent his Sudarshan to cover the sun. So now, because the sun was covered, the Kauravas thought that the war is over and Arjuna has to enter fire. And so Jayadratha came all the way to the front, and now Krishna removed his Sudarshan disc. And now Jayadratha was just in front. And now they told Arjuna, I'm not equipped with my weapon. So now don't fight, let me get my weapon. But Krishna said, just shoot him. And Arjuna shot. So all this basically we see multiple times, like once Karna was riding on his chariot and he had this weapon called as Nagastra. The specialty of this weapon is it never misses its mark. If it's released with the proper aim, it all makes sure that the opponent is killed. So here, this Karna had his charioteer named Shalya. Shalya was the charioteer of Karna. And Karna and Arjuna were bitter enemies, bitter rivals. So Karna really wanted Arjuna to be killed, and he thought that this is the time I will make use of Nagastra. So then Karna went on to he was riding a chariot. Then Arjuna came in front of him. He aimed his Nagastra and shot. Just before shooting, Shalya had told Karna that don't aim for the neck, aim for the heart. But also Karna had problem with his own charioteer also. So he said, you are just a charioteer. Who are you to tell me? Give me knowledge. So Karna released his Nagastra. And what Krishna did, Krishna was the charioteer of Arjuna's chariot. So he pushed down the chariot into the ground by certain distance, by some feet. So the Nagastra, which was supposed to be hitting Arjuna's neck, it hit the helmet of Arjuna. So Shalya pointed to Karna, if you would have aimed his heart, then he would have been died. He would have been dead by now. So then Arjuna didn't know what is happening. So he told Krishna, hey, what are you doing? Please keep your eyes where you're going. Make sure you ride the chariot properly. So Krishna turned back to Arjuna and said, your head was supposed to be cut, but only your helmet flew off. Because for Kshatriya for his helmet to fly away is a matter of dishonor. Right? So in like this, we see in different instances, not just the Pandavas, but all his devotees' lives, Krishna takes utmost care to protect his devotees from different problems, different obstacles in their spiritual life. Krishna takes utmost care. If we alone take care of ourselves, how much can we protect ourselves? But if Krishna takes care of his devotees, it is very easy for the devotees simply to depend on Krishna. So one of the things which Prabhupada is also mentioning is Krishna plays one role of being subordinate to his devotees. So being subordinate to his devotees versus some people want to demand from Krishna. For example, some people say, why don't you show me God? Why doesn't your God come in front of me? Or even if many devotees they go on interview, the reporters ask this famous question that, have you seen God? Srila Prabhupada was asked once, have you seen God? You know what Srila Prabhupada said? Yes, but will you believe me if I tell you? I think the reporter asked, when have you seen God, or when was the first time you saw God? Prabhupada said, I saw God when I was 3 or 4, when I was a small child. So usually it is a fancy for reporters to ask this question, have you seen God? Because no one has seen God. So it's for a spiritualist, if he has not seen God, it's like a defeat over the spiritualists for the materialists. So then suppose, before I continue with this, now suppose someone tells you, at a distance, if you keep running in this particular path, at the distance there is a huge truckload of treasure, a lot of gold coins, diamonds, jewels, everything is there. And then only thing is, this person is telling you have to run this path. And when you run this path, you are not able to see the treasure towards the end. You just have to believe this person who is telling you. And you start running. And then when you start running, you have some food with you to eat, but that's all you got. You are running and you see others also running because it's a matter of treasure. So many people are running. So when everyone is running and you still don't see the treasure, and hours pass by, days pass by, weeks pass by, even months pass by, how long do you think you can keep running? Or suppose all of you are present in such a race, how many of you think you will make it to the treasure? However long it takes. No one knows where the treasure is. But you have enough food and water to survive. You can take rest at night. So anyone who thinks you can make it to the treasure? No one. Okay. How many of you think you won't make it to the treasure? Rather you will stop? Okay. What do you think? You will make it? Or is this like gold coins and jewels? No? It's not worth it. Okay. Okay. So many people ask, now coming back to the point, many people ask, have you seen God? But if we have seen, yes, for the spiritualist, we can understand that just like this runner cannot keep going just by the mere thought of the goal. Right? Just if you know that there is a goal and the goal contains a lot of treasure, a lot of valuables, your life will be set. You will be the richest man. You will get whatever you want. You cannot keep running. Someday you have to stop. Right? Because the goal is towards the end. But the glory of the path of bhakti is, the goal is, yes, it is far away. But that goal which is far away is pure devotional service. Whereas on the path of bhakti, you get joy of bhakti even while practicing bhakti. So the problem is, now if the runner who is running on this path, if he keeps getting some amount of gold coins on the way, how many of you think he'll be enthused to keep continuing? Yes. Right? So similarly, on the path of bhakti, what we need, or what the devotees on the path of bhakti get, is some amount of devotional joy or bliss, some ananda a sincere practitioner gets even while on the path. He doesn't wait for the end goal. He just has to be on the path. So similarly, when devotees ask, have you seen God? Because Srila Prabhupada here is saying that Krishna is not the order supplier. He can be subordinate to his pure devotees, but he's never the order supplier. So that's why when materialists say, can you show me God? Why should God come in front of you? So if Joe Biden exists, you should present him before me. But you can give me the address, you can tell me his office, you can give so many other things. But I say I don't agree with all this. Only if he comes before me, I'll accept Joe Biden exists, right? So such foolish people who argue like this, for them there is no way, because Krishna is not going to reduce his position to be in front of such people. But on the other hand, if we feel that what if Krishna is present, he becomes present before the non-devotees, then maybe non-devotees can put faith in him, because they're saying, you present Krishna before me, I will believe in him. So can't Krishna become humble and just be present? Right? It's a good option, isn't it? So for that we understand, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna in the 7th chapter, couple of verses where he's saying Rasoham Apsu Kanteya, and he's saying Prabhasmi Shashi Surya Yoho, means I am the taste of water. I am the light, Prabhasmi Shashi Surya Yoho, heat of the sun. Then he says, I am Balam Balavatam Chaham, and the strength of the strong, Buddhir Buddhimatam Asmi, I am intelligence of the intelligent. So he says all these verses where he's saying how one can perceive Krishna even being in the material world. So if we cannot put faith in such a thing, in the instructions of Krishna, where Krishna is telling you can perceive me in these ways. So if we cannot put faith there, if we cannot experience Krishna while drinking water, if we cannot see Krishna in the light of the sun, if we cannot see Krishna in the intelligence of the people, like the scientists are building huge, they are discovering so many things, and there's a lot of technological development. There's so many engineers, doctors. If we cannot see that intelligence of all of them is Krishna. Krishna is the actual intelligent with a capital I, who is giving them intelligence. So if we cannot put faith in mere instructions, simple instructions of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, then how will we put faith when Krishna is presented before us? Right? So Krishna is saying, you can experience me through the taste of water. And if I cannot put faith there, what is the proof that if Krishna is present before me, I can say that I believe that this is Krishna and I want to accept Krishna as my master? There's no guarantee, because we cannot even put faith in his instructions. That's why Krishna doesn't become an order supplier. It's not that Krishna doesn't have a problem. Even if he becomes, the problem with the non-devotees or pseudo-devotees, as Sri Prabhupada mentions, is they cannot put faith. For example, when Krishna went as a peace messenger to avoid the Kurukshetra war, when he went to the Kaurava side, so that time all the Kauravas people, the Duryodhan, Dhritarashtra, the king, Kaurava king, and all the generals, they all welcomed Krishna, and Krishna spoke about the peace treaty, that you can just give 5 villages and Pandavas can adjust. We can avoid the entire war. But they didn't agree, because Dhritarashtra was attached to his son, and all that. Now Krishna was ready to go, and for some reason, and Duryodhana had made a plan that this Krishna, when he comes, we will arrest him and put him in prison. So then, as Krishna was leaving, so then this Duryodhana, he thought this is the time. So he asked all his ministers to attack Krishna. And seeing the foolishness of Duryodhana and his men, Krishna showed another universal form. This is before the universal form of the Bhagavad Gita. This is more of a mini universal form. So when Krishna showed this, Duryodhana for a moment, keeping aside Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra prayed to Krishna. Everyone was awestruck. Many couldn't see because they were not pious enough. Dhritarashtra begged Krishna, please give me eyes to see just this form, and that's the only time when he got some vision to see the universal form of Krishna. But Duryodhana, for a moment, he thought maybe Krishna is God. But that's just for a moment. After that, he felt, no, he is just another magician. And then because Krishna showed his prowess, he just let him go. So the point is, even if we demand Krishna, that you be present before me, or you give me the taste in bhakti, and then I will follow nicely, there's no guarantee that we will do it. Because the question is of sincerity. We have to be present, because Krishna is not that we don't have anything. Like I said, on the path of bhakti, Krishna has given many other things. We all get taste, we all get so many subsidiary things like good lifestyle. That's what everyone is looking for. Good association. That's what everyone is looking for. Um, then we also have different, even the Shastras he has given, scriptures. He has given absolute knowledge. He has given the books, the holy name. He has given everything we need to attain Krishna. So it is completely not like the runner running a lone path where there is only in hope of the final goal. Whereas on the path of bhakti, you practice bhakti and the goal of bhakti is also bhakti. So the means and the end are the same. So you chant to chant more. You serve to serve more. So it's not devoid of the goal. So anyone who even takes one step on the path of bhakti, he is already practicing the goal of life. Right? So this is the point. So basically, the most important thing we can focus on is working on purifying our heart. Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that when we take up this path, which is Shuta Ikshita Pata, the word path comes from the Sanskrit word pat, right? So Shuta Ikshita Pat means that path where you reach the goal by where you hear and see, and then you reach the goal. That is Shuta Ikshita. Shuta means to hear, and Ikshita means to see. How can you see by hearing? Can anyone explain? How can you see through your ears? We know Krishna is Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vidyavanti. He has different functions. Every organ can perform functions of every other organ. Yes.
Well, sometimes like it's given the example that, for example, you have a watch and you can see the watch, but actually you cannot see. Only if someone comes and gives you knowledge and explain to you, or you get this knowledge through your ears, then you will be able to see the watch. Otherwise, it's a mystery for you.
Yes.
So many other things we see, but actually we cannot see them because we don't have knowledge.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, perfect answer.
Yeah, I think it's connected to the dharma of any given object, the inherent nature. So we can observe the world around us, but if we don't have the knowledge, what is the meaning, what is the purpose, the final cause of everything, then we actually don't, we look, but we don't actually see.
Yes.
And even in some other scriptures in the Bible, I think in the beginning, God was in heaven, and he was telling Adam the names of different objects, and he was explaining. So this is the original name. It describes the nature of this thing. So if you don't know, if God doesn't give you, then you actually don't see the reality. You see just basically you're inside your mind, Tom.
Thank you. Yes. So that is basically we, like what they explained, we actually have to gain knowledge from a bona fide source to understand what the object is. Just like if you, for a child, if he looks at the knife, a sharp knife, he doesn't know anything. Like a child can even put his hand inside the fire because he doesn't know what the fire is going to do. But he can still see the fire, but actually he cannot see the consequences what the fire will do to the child. So similarly, another example is of the materialists. The materialists are wandering in this world, right? When a watermelon tree produces a watermelon, the tree is producing watermelon. Why? To offer it to, so that it can be offered to Krishna. And the material nature is always servant of Krishna. So anything which is produced in the material nature is for the purpose of satisfaction of Krishna. So the watermelon is producing watermelon so that someone can take it and offer it to Krishna and then take prasada. But the materialists, when they see the watermelon, they think this watermelon is meant for my satisfaction, right? So the tree becomes very sad. The material nature is not very happy now. Whereas the devotee, if he or she sees, if devotees see the watermelon, what do? They take it and offer it to Krishna. So the same object, so one person understands what to do with it, another person doesn't. So similarly, the materialist can see the whole nature and think, oh, this is all meant for my enjoyment. Whereas devotee sees the entire material nature and understands this is all working in the direction of Krishna and is meant for Krishna's enjoyment. Right? So this is the difference. There's one more point. Maybe I'll just end with this. Because Srila Prabhupada also mentions about the 9 stages of devotional service. If you see in the translation or even in the verse, you see Tvam Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita Hrit Saroja. So Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita, Sri Prabhupada explains that it is the stage of prema or the final stage where there is no tinge of any mode or any anartha in the heart because it's completely Paribhavita means 100% pure Bhakti Yoga. And the process is also given. So that is the goal. That is the goal of devotional service. And what is the process? Shuta ikshitapat nanunata pumsam. That if we take this process of hearing from bona fide authority and then we proceed in the process, then we will get the goal. We will achieve the goal. So many devotees also have this problem that after many years of practice, they feel that though I'm practicing for so many years, I still have lust in my heart. I still have anger. I feel I've not made any much progress. Though I've spent 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Many devotees feel like this. So, but here the verse it is being mentioned, anyone who takes to the right process, the bona fide process under the guidance of a bona fide guru, anyone who is sincere on the path, he will get, and he doesn't have to reach the entire complete the end goal, because the end goal is always present in the path itself. That is one thing. And other thing is that we also see that if we have before I, okay, basically another thing is here the 9 stages of devotional service is being mentioned in the verse. That is, prema is already being mentioned, and Srila Prabhupada explained that Shuta Ikshita Path means the stage of bhajana kriya, because it's that is the time where you hear from the spiritual master, engage in preliminary devotional duties, and also get initiated and all that. So we want the final goal prema. For that we need to practice devotional service. For that we need to surrender to a guru. So before that there is sadhu sangha. We associate with Vaishnavas to understand who the guru is, etc., etc. But the basic platform is faith. So we have to basically work on 3 things: work on purifying our heart, following the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master, and cultivating deeper faith. Because deeper faith means stronger foundation. Now, we all want strong foundation, because if a storm hits, which trees fall? Do all trees fall? Which trees fall when the storm hits? The mic.
The weak ones?
The weak ones. Yeah, what do you mean by weak?
That's not really sturdy, you know, that's not strong at the bottom.
Strong, okay, strong bottom. Little more. Yes.
The roots of the tree are not very strong, not very deep in
Yeah,
the ground.
the deep-rooted ones. However, it is there have been many cases where huge storms hit and huge trees have fallen, whereas not so strong-looking, sturdy trees they've still remained. Because the difference was those big trees, they had not so deep roots. They had shallow roots. Whereas the not so strong looking trees, they had very deep roots into the ground. So whatever storm came, they never fell. So basically the point is our faith has to be deep rooted in the instructions of the Guru Sadhu Shastra, of our teachers, of the scriptures and the devotees around. So once this happens, then whatever storms will hit our spiritual life, we don't get shaken, and storms will hit. So it's a homework for all of us to work on our faith, and we all know where we stand, right? We all know how much storm we can handle, and if we do our best, because Krishna is subordinate to the desires of his pure devotees in pure in heart or pure in the desire to serve another pure devotee, Krishna protects such devotees. So that is something very hopeful for us. And if Krishna protects, who can harm us? Right? So that is one thing. And also we see other thing is when we practice devotional service under the guidance of Guru and following rooted in Shastra, the instructions rooted also in Shastra, then the next step that is called Bhajana Kriya. Next step which happens is Anartha Nivritti. Anartha Nivritti means the lust, anger, greed, they start getting cleansed from the heart. That is the symptom of a right path. Satam prasangan mama viga samvido bhavanti karna rasayana kata tajoshanadashu apavarga vartmani shraddharatir bhakti anukramishati. So that is being said in 325-25. So in Srimad Bhagavatam it's being said. It means when the devotees come together and keep hearing about Krishna, then a natural relish happens, takes place for them. They all relish in that association, discussing Krishna Katha, so much so that their journey to the goal of life, that is pure devotional service, that is attaining love for Krishna, it's becomes very shortened. Ashu means very quickly. It happens, it takes place very quickly. And the symptom while on the path is the devotion for Krishna increases, faith increases, attraction increases. Shraddha, Rati, and Bhakti, all three increase. So if one is practicing devotional service, but his faith is not so strong, it's on a weak platform, and this has been going on for days after days or months or years, it means it's not that something is wrong with the process. Something is wrong with the practice. Right? So generally in the modern way of life is we want to push the blame to others. Right? But when something good happens, we like to, raise our collar and say how it's all my greatness. But when anything bad happens, we want to push the blame to God. We want to push the blame to God. Just like there was a very rich man. He felt so sad. When he went to the village, all the people in this village were very poor, except him. So he had a huge palatial building in the village. So what he thought, he went to the top of the building and he would shower gold coins, he would shower jewels, grains, ghee, everything. He would just keep showering them just so that people can come and take. But he had one lamentation, that whenever people would come and take, they would never look up to see who is giving. So that was his only lamentation. So he went to a sadhu guru, not Sadguru, but a saintly person. He went to a saintly person of that village and shared his concern that there is no one looking up towards me. I'm doing so many things for them. Rather, people start fighting. You have too much rice. You give me ghee, you take this rice. They started fighting and bickering and quarreling. So the sadhu, he told this rich man a mantra in his ears. So the rich man said, okay, he would follow it. So the next day, instead of throwing these gold coins and grains, he started throwing bricks and stones. And when he did that, all the people started looking up and they started cursing him and they said, we will kill you. We will burn your house down. We will get you down. So they started a mob there. So this person was surprised because he just followed the words of the sadhu. And then the sadhu explained that these people, when you give them anything good, they are so busy enjoying the good that they don't see who is giving it. But something bad happens, they immediately blame who? The person above. So just as when something good happens, if we don't have the habit to thank God, why do we have the habit to blame God when something bad happens? That is called the pushing away the blame onto someone else. Basically, we have to take responsibility. So if something bad happens, it's because of our own bad karma before. So when we take responsibility and thank God, other people do the opposite. They take credit and blame God. What we should do, the opposite. That is, take responsibility for the negative things and thank God for the positive things. And that way we can actually make progress in spiritual life. That is one of the, you can say, way to be sincere, right? So there was this very famous tennis player, I forget his name. He was asked, he was maybe Wimbledon, is it called Wimbledon champion? Wimbledon champion. So this person, he contracted cancer, a very fatal disease, fatal cancer on the last stage or something. So he was asked by a reporter, why did God do this to you? You're such a successful person. Why did he do this to you? So this person said that when um, he gave some statistics like out of 1 lakh people, 1 lakh people who want to learn tennis, who play tennis, 50,000 try to go into professional tennis, means they get training, out of which only 1,000 they try for tournaments, out of which maybe 500 start playing, out of which 4 enter semi-finals and 2 enter finals, and only 1 win. And I was that person. So when I got the Wimbledon champion, I was declared as the Wimbledon champion. I never asked, or I never credited God. I never said, God, this is all because of you. Why have you, or I never said, God, why have you done this to me when something positive happened? So what right do I have to blame God when something negative happens? He was not a Hare Krishna devotee, but he had good sense, right? So that is one thing which we can do, is take responsibility. When we take responsibility, we can work on it. When we put the blame on others, we cannot work on it, right? That is one thing. And also another point is that anything which we have taste for, we don't necessarily have to, we don't need anyone to push us for, right? Because we spoke about faith, then comes sadhu sangha, we associate with devotees, then bhajana kriya, which is shuta ikshitapat, which leads to anartha nivritti, cleansing of the heart. And then we also can understand, if we have taste for anything, like some devotees have natural taste for socializing, and they can put back all the other spiritual duties also to socialize, right? Some devotees have natural taste for prasadam, and they can spend all the time for prasadam and not in sadhana. Or I've seen some devotees also have a lot of taste for reading Prabhupada's books, and they can skip prasadam and read hours and hours together. So whatever we have taste for, we don't need anyone to follow us up within that, right? So similarly, when we keep working on this path, on this bona fide path, and our hearts keep getting cleaner and cleaner, then the platform comes of nishtha. Tada rajas tamo bhava kama lobhadayaschaye chetaitar anaviddham stitam sattve prasidati. So that is nishtha, stitam sattve prasidati. Now you're fixed in goodness of practice of devotional service. And then comes ruchi. So from nishtha onwards, it's a downhill. You don't have to put a lot of effort, because it becomes very natural. It becomes very intrinsic to our character. So basically where we have to put effort is in trying to cleanse our heart. And how that happens, we are not going to clean it ourselves. So our actual effort goes in following the process sincerely. That's all that is required. If we can just follow the process sincerely, then we can automatically, in time to come, you will, see Krishna face to face, or you will have love for Krishna. So that's why in NOI verse 7, it is said, Syad Krishna Nama Charitadi Sitapya Vidya Pittopataptarasanasya Narochikanu Kintu Adarat Anudinam. Anudinam means daily practice. Kaluse Vajushtad Swad Vikramad Bhavati Tadgata Mulahantri. So what is being said, Shri Rup Goswami is saying, when you just practice this devotional service day after day, not once a week, once a month. I mean, if we go to gym, or we know seasoned people who go to gym or seasoned in gym, they have to do it daily or very regularly. Only then their body is, up to the mark. Or even people who play instruments, they have to practice regularly, right? Any professional instrument players, if they don't do it daily, audience may not understand. They find everything good, but the player himself understands, how well am I playing. So it's all about daily practice. So similarly, on the spiritual path, if we do it daily, Rupa Goswami Pad is saying, then that devotional service or bhakti, the practice, which is a little difficult in the beginning, tastes little bitter, gradually you start getting the sweet taste. So that is basically the point. So the most hopeful aspect of this, what Prabhupada is saying and what is being mentioned in NOI verse 7, is that gradually you start getting taste. You don't have to wait till you reach the end completely. So maybe I'll stop here. If there are any questions, you can take. Yes, Mike.
There was something really wonderful that Subordinate Radhanath Maharaj said, which related to what you were saying about taking responsibility, which I thought was really nice. He was saying that if we take credit when it's not due, like if someone else does something and then people say, "Oh, you did such a good job," they're like, "Yeah, I mean, yeah, I did it, yeah." If we take credit when it's not due, then we'll also have to suffer blame when it's not due.
Yes.
When we don't do something bad, it'll be put on us, and it feels so unjust. It feels so bad. Oh yeah, I didn't do that. Why they blame me? So I thought that was nice. That's a good explanation.
Thank you.
Also, Prabhu, actually, thank you so much for the class. I was thinking, just in the japa this morning, I was walking, I was thinking, wow, I really don't feel like my japa has improved. And then I got a little mad for a second. I said, oh man, it's bhakti work. When I thought about it for a second, I thought, oh, it's because I'm sleepwalking, I'm sleeping during my rounds, I'm not chanting 16 rounds, I'm not reading regularly, being very unregular. And I thought about it for a second. I thought, okay, actually, the process is not the thing that is wrong. And it is because I am completely wrong. I am a big rascal. And I have not even taken up the actual process. I'm here, I'm like, oh, okay, here I am trying to be brahmachari. But no, I'm trying to to be brahmachari. So I'm not actually taking the process. And I thought, okay. But it's very enlivening. I thought, now, yes, I must be fixed. And I hope that when we go on this trip, this break, can really help put things together.
So two things. One thing is, if someone is following with sincerity the process, sometimes it does take time. Just like there's one sannyasi in India. His own is Bhakti Vinod Swami. He was giving this analogy. He was saying that when we fly in an aeroplane, we can make sense of when we are taking off and when we're landing. But the journey in between, we don't get to feel that as if we are going ahead, but we're actually proceeding ahead. So similarly, we just have to be sincere on the path of bhakti, and when we are doing that, our hearts are being cleansed, and we just don't know how, or we may not understand. But when the flight is going to land, that time we'll understand. But that day will come when we automatically start feeling love for Krishna. So that's how he explains. And second thing is, you're not asking. Yeah.
Tiny rascal or medium-sized rascal.
No. Thank you for attending the Bhagavatam class. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Shri Prabhupada ki.